Kyiv launches a swift attack and suffers a catastrophic failure in Kursk. Ukraine's sudden assault in the Kursk region on January 5 continues to stir debates on social media. According to the RVVON Core channel, at 9 a.m. local time on Sunday, Ukraine began an offensive toward Berdin and Bolshoye Soldatskoye villages, located northeast of Sudzha. Kyiv deployed around 30 armored vehicles and approximately 2 infantry battalions. They launched a surprise counterattack to take advantage of the cold but clear weather. Some reports suggest that the U.S. provided Bradley fighting vehicles to transport Ukrainian infantry to forward positions. Fierce battles erupted, and due to overwhelming numbers, Kyiv was reportedly able to gain the upper hand on the outskirts of Berdin village. However, they were soon met with a fierce response from the Russian side. Currently, Ukrainian assault groups are trapped in the town and are being pursued by Russian forces. By evening, Russian channels reported that Ukraine's offensive had been halted. According to RVVON Core, within 24 hours, almost all of Ukraine's equipment had been destroyed, and their losses continued to mount. Essentially, this frantic counterattack failed. Russia has also begun releasing footage showing Ukrainian equipment used in the attack on Berdin and other villages being destroyed. The footage reveals that Russian forces actively utilized air power to retaliate, leaving Ukrainian infantry exposed and forcing them to navigate through minefields, missiles, and bombs in an attempt to escape. The clear weather further facilitated the effectiveness of Russian air operations. Berdin village, located strategically, remains under Russian military control. Ukraine's attempts to breach this direction have ended in repeated failures over consecutive days. Ukraine's setbacks could impact its overall position in the Kursk region. Reports indicate that Kyiv aimed to launch a surprise attack on Berdin to inflict losses on Russia and force Moscow to halt its advances toward Sudzha, just a few kilometers away. Unfortunately, their plan failed. Explaining why Kyiv suffered such heavy losses in Berdin over the past 24 hours, internal Ukrainian sources cited the general staff, stating that the attack plan had been leaked and the Russians were aware of Ukraine's timing. As a result, they suffered significant losses in equipment and workforce. To maintain the situation in Sudzha, General Syrsky is reportedly transferring new reserves to the town. There has been considerable debate over why Kyiv continues to launch counterattacks in Kursk, given that their forces struggle to hold on to the territories they currently control on Russian soil. On the Russian side, the Ministry of Defense declared that Kyiv had launched the counterattack in Kursk to prevent the Russian military's advance into Ukraine's Sumy border region. Meanwhile, sources from Ukraine reveal that the Zelensky administration aims to strengthen its negotiating position with Trump. As a result, they launched the offensive in Kursk. Russia is increasingly reclaiming more land in Kursk. This has forced General Syrsky to act to stabilize the situation in this region. Kyiv is attempting to attack along the entire front line to demonstrate its ability to carry out offensive operations and score points before Trump's inauguration. The attack in Kursk on January 5 was entirely politically motivated, aimed at making an impression before Trump's inauguration and ahead of Special Envoy Kellogg's visit to Kyiv. The Zelensky administration must showcase Ukraine's offensive capabilities. Unfortunately, the clear weather provided Russian reconnaissance UAVs with excellent visibility, enabling them to effectively hunt down Ukraine's armored vehicles. Internal Ukrainian sources also disclosed that President Zelensky's office was dissatisfied with the initial wave of attacks in the Kursk area and demanded new achievements from General Syrsky for negotiations with Trump. Observers predict that Kyiv will launch another offensive and deploy their remaining reserves into the battle in this area. Ukrainian MP Mariana Bezuglaya has harshly criticized Ukraine's new offensive in the Kursk region. According to her, this operation holds no military significance and has led to losing territory in the east. Russians are seizing our mineral resources, occupying abandoned fortifications, and advancing dozens of kilometers every day, while the Zelensky administration prioritizes military political goals rather than protecting the Dnipro-Donetsk natural resource cluster in Ukraine. She accused the military leadership of trying to showcase the army's excellent offensive capabilities in Kursk. While cities under Russian attacks include Pokrovsk, Kramatorsk, Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, and Kharkiv. As Pokrovsk burns, Washington scrambles for a desperate rescue plan. The Russians are beginning to tighten their grip on Pokrovsk. According to the Voenkour channel, Russian forces are attacking east of Mirnograd. After capturing the village of Vozdvizhenka, they advanced into Elizavetovka. Fighting is now occurring near the Pokrovsk-Konstantinovka highway, just over 3 kilometers away. To the west of Pokrovsk, Russian forces are reportedly only 5 kilometers from the highway to Pavlograd. This suggests they attempt to sever the two most extensive logistical routes supplying Pokrovsk from the west and east. Russia's effective control over a critical highway in Donbas has raised concerns in Ukraine and among NATO allies. Ukrainian forces are struggling with low morale and depleted resources, retreating from their positions. Despite efforts by the Zelensky administration to rally support and resources, the Ukrainian military appears overstretched and unable to halt Russia's advance. Reports show that the outgoing Biden administration is stepping in to address this dire situation. With Ukraine's army struggling to replenish its ranks, young men, including teenagers, are being sent to the battlefield. This raises serious ethical and societal concerns. On January 3, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, SVR, claimed that Kyiv is reportedly considering lowering the conscription age to 18 in response to a U.S. request to bolster troop numbers at the front lines. This decision comes as Western nations grow increasingly concerned about Ukraine's ability to withstand escalating Russian attacks, with some not ruling out the possibility of the Ukrainian armed forces' defenses collapsing soon. Russian intelligence alleged that the outgoing President Biden is seeking to prevent such a scenario, and may personally intervene, acknowledging that merely providing advanced weapons is unlikely to stabilize Ukraine's defense capabilities. The SVR also suggested that Ukraine's neighboring countries have secretly prepared to accommodate a new wave of refugees. Unlike previous waves fleeing the threat of war, this exodus is expected to consist of Ukrainians seeking to avoid conscription. In April 2024, President Zelensky approved a law reducing the conscription age from 27 to 25 to boost troop numbers. However, this measure has not achieved its intended results. Instead of inspiring patriotic enlistment, it has exposed deeper fractures within Ukraine's military and society. Reports indicate a severe desertion crisis within Ukrainian forces, with an estimated 20% of troops abandoning their positions without authorization. A senior Ukrainian commander admitted that troop morale has plummeted across key frontline areas, undermining the country's defense capabilities. President Zelensky has taken a hardline approach rather than addressing the root causes of the crisis, such as the lack of trust among the public, military leadership, and political authorities. His administration has intensified crackdowns on those evading military service, sparking public outrage and deepening societal divisions. Kyiv has also threatened legal action against citizens who share false information about mobilization efforts or assist others in avoiding conscription. Amid this, as Ukrainians show little enthusiasm to continue the fight against Russia, Zelensky also faces pressure from the Biden administration. The implications of lowering the conscription age could further exacerbate social tensions in Ukraine. Ukraine requires at least 500,000 troops to dream of gaining an advantage in this war. However, given the current circumstances, this number appears unattainable. The coming weeks could play a critical role in shaping the next phase of the conflict and its impact on the entire European region.